Well, I still can't, but. Not my way.
Make sure your phones are silent.
I'll figure it out. I know, I know. No worries. Oh, since I talked to you, I started allergy shots. I've been going twice a week. I mean, I haven't felt any better yet, but I mean, they said it takes like a year.
You're fine.
Well, as long as you keep up with it, like 3 to 5 years, it makes you feel better. Like you can actually breathe.
We want one mic check?
All right, final level check, final mic check. Final check, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, last out. Well, everybody else is okay, so I guess that gentleman will be too. All right, take care, guys.
Thank you.
Hot mic. No secrets.
Could I use this time? Sure. Would you hold up on 1,000 pounds? Whatever you need. Please do. You see me all the time at these things, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm so used to it. But thank you.
Or the double panel. Bathroom. That's what I love with the double. Did you?
Right.
Well, good morning. Thanks everyone for coming and dealing with our logistical issues in the rain. We appreciate it. We're here today to announce additional charges in the case against the defendant Rex Heuermann. Obviously, at the onset, I will say these are just allegations. The indictment has just been filed. This is a case, court proceeding, and each and every one of these allegations have got to be proven in court, and we certainly look forward to doing just that. Today, as you've just seen, the District Attorney's Office filed a superseding indictment charging the defendant with 2 additional murders. Those charges pertain to the 1993 murder of Sandra Costilla and the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor. So that's in addition to the previously charged murders of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, which occurred in 1997, 1999, June of 2010, and September of 2010, respectively. So my intention now, here today is to discuss those charges, discuss the contents of the bail letter, and then turn it all over to you all for questions. But before I do that, before I discuss the indictment and the developments in the case, I want to thank our law enforcement partners, many of whom are here today. First and foremost, I want to thank the Suffolk County Police Department. My understanding is Commissioner Waring was unavailable today. I spoke with Rob, but he certainly brought a contingent of Suffolk County PD to represent his office. We have Deputy Police Commissioner Kevin Catalina. We have Chief of Detectives Darrell Simmons. We have Deputy Chief Stan Grodsky. We have, and then we have the Commanding Officer of the Major Crimes Unit, which includes the Homicide Unit, Sean Barron. So we want to thank all of them for their partnership. We want to thank the Homicide Unit for their continued efforts in this case. We have the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office here. Again, spoke with Sheriff Toulon. He's traveling out of state, so he couldn't make it. But it's my understanding that Under Sheriffs Steve Kios and Keith Taylor are here. We certainly want to thank them for their assistance as well. With the New York State Police, we have Major Stephen Udis, as well as Lieutenant Ken Gine. Again, we thank them not only for their presence here today, but more importantly, for their partnership in this case. We have the FBI, Supervising Special Agent Don Ansbacher is here. I want to thank the FBI for their continued assistance in this case. And then I don't believe they're present, but we have we want to thank the United States Secret Service for their assistance in this case. We want to thank the Suffolk County Crime Lab. I know they're not here, but their work has been tireless and instrumental, and we are really very appreciative to them. I especially want to thank the K-9 units from the New York State Police, from the Suffolk County Police, and from the NYPD, who came out a couple of weeks ago, and in very difficult conditions. They really did a fabulous job helping us to search an area of interest to us, and you know, they went above and beyond. So again, I want to thank them. I frequently neglect to thank my own team, so I'm going to take the opportunity to thank them. We have, you know, Chief Zacharis. We have, I want to thank them. I want to thank our ADAs, many of whom are working on this case. You heard from Nick Santamartino. We've got Larry Opizzo. We've got Andrew Lee. We've got Michelle Haddad. We've got a whole host of ADAs that have really been instrumental in us. Our investigators, our analysts, really fantastic work that they've done. I want to thank the victims' families, many of whom are here today, not only on the new charges, but for the original Gilgo 4. And this is what this case is about. We don't ever forget that. This case is about the victims and their families, and hopefully providing them with that small measure of closure. And you know, the families have been, you know, nothing short of incredible. The way that they continue to support their loved ones and each other is really inspiring to us, and really helps us to keep coming in and working this case as aggressively as we've been doing. This case is a true collaboration, and again, mentioning all of those partners, without the contribution of any one of those partners, that they and each other is really inspiring to us and really helps us to keep coming in and working this case as aggressively as we've been doing. This case is a true collaboration, and again, mentioning all of those partners, without the contribution of any one of those partners, that they and each other is really inspiring to us and really helps us to keep coming in and working this case as aggressively as we've been doing. This case is a true collaboration, and again, mentioning all of those partners, without the contribution of any one of those partners, that the criminal prosecution continues. But the investigation continues, and that investigation has been expanded. The investigation has been expanded both to the bodies that were found on Gilgo and beyond. That's what we said, and I think that has come to fruition today with these two new cases, or new charges. First off, with regard to Jessica Taylor, that her body was recovered on July 26, 2003, off of just west of Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. She was found on her back. She was decapitated, and her hands and arms were severed just below the elbows. Notably, a tattoo that she had been obliterated with a sharp object. 8 years later, her arms and skull were found on Ocean Parkway. Those remains were found on the same side of the road on the Ocean Parkway as the Gilgo 4. They were found less than a mile away from the remains of the Gilgo 4, and all of the 5 remains were located within 50 feet of the roadway. And I think you see that, the graphic on page 5 of our bail document illustrates that. Jessica Taylor was last seen July 19th in New York City. She was working as a sex worker. We know from from our investigation, from a number of financial records and other records, that the defendant, Rex Heuermann, was in New York City on July 19th. Jessica Taylor last spoke to her mom on July 21st, and then that was about 8:41 p.m. Then less than 2 hours later, her phone call made its last outgoing call, and we heard no more from Jessica or from her phone. The family alerted law enforcement on July 25th when she failed to return to her home for her mom's birthday, and then shortly thereafter, on July 26th, Jessica's body was recovered. At that time, the Suffolk County PD did canvass. They spoke to witnesses, and the witnesses had observed the night before, about 13 hours prior to the 911 call, they saw a dark-colored pickup truck backed up in the vicinity of off of Halsey Manor Road, where Jessica's body was eventually recovered. Computer activity by the defendant, which we were able to access through our search warrants, indicated that 2 days later, on July 28th, he accessed a Newsday article with regard to information on the case and with regard to the police looking for information on the case. That search was erased, but we were able to recover it. 1 day later, on July 29th, notably, the defendant was seeking to purchase a new Chevy Avalanche truck, notwithstanding the fact that he already had a dark-colored Chevy Avalanche truck, which was only approximately 4 months old at the time. The Chevy Avalanche truck, which we've been discussing all along, is dark-colored. His internet search related to the acquisition of the same Chevy Avalanche truck, but this time in white or bright blue, bright-colored truck, completely different from the dark-colored truck that he'd been riding in. And again, once again, that purchase with regard to the new trucks, that was attempted to be obliterated. We spoke, and Nick Santamartino did the bail application, so I don't want to repeat all that Nick said, but with regard to the hairs found in this case, Jessica Taylor was found laying atop a surgical drape. A male hair was found between the body and the drape. That was recovered back in 2003. In 2023, we brought that hair was brought to the mitochondrial testing lab for mitochondrial DNA analysis, and was able to the result. 99.96% of the population, but not Rex Heuermann, the defendant. Then again, later in 2024, we brought to a second lab for testing, and once again, the result was the defendant could not be excluded as the donor of that hair, and it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power more likely that it came to, that it matched the defendant or someone matching the defendant's DNA profile than a member of the population at large. And that number, just so it's 1.837 times 10 to the 603rd power. So what you do is you take that 1.837 and you move that decimal point over 63 places and add zeros. That's the number. That number doesn't exist. It's so big. Among other things that we were able to establish with regard to the murder of Jessica Taylor was, once again, family travel. We were able to determine that at the time of the disappearance and death of Jessica Taylor, once again, the defendant's family was out of the state. They were staying at a resort known as Smuggler's Notch in Vermont. We were able to corroborate that information through witness statements, photos, and phone and financial records. In addition, there was a hard drive that backed up to a Palm Pilot, which was the defendant's date book, and in that, and again, this is chronicled in the bail application, but in that date book, it's indicated that his wife is in Virginia at Smugs from July 20th through July 27th, and that's page 14 of the bail document. With regard to the 1993 discovery of Sandra Costilla, again, on November 20th, 1993, two individuals, while hunting in that wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of Old Fish Cove Road in North Sea, discovered her body. She was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Her legs were uncovered, and her shirt was pressed over her head. The victim suffered numerous sharp force injuries, 25 in all, which we believe were post-mortem, and these were injuries to her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and in her vaginal area. Once again, we had hairs recovered from Sandra Costilla. This is chronicled in the bail application. There were two hairs from Sandra Costilla's remains that are of particular significance in this case. One was a female hair that was recovered from the victim's right arm, and one was a male hair that was recovered from a tape lift of one of the shirts that the victim was wearing that was pushed above her head. In 2014, about 10 years ago, the two hairs plus another female hair, which were found on Costilla, were sent to an outside mitochondrial DNA lab for testing, and at that time, John Bitroff was excluded as the donor of those three hairs. Those once the task force began investigating Gilgo and related cases, those hairs were retested in 2023 and 2024 and compared with the defendant's known sample from the buccal swab that we obtained. Regarding that male hair, the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from that male hair on the victim Costilla and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are match, and specifically at a rate that would exclude 99.96% of and defendant Heuermann therefore cannot be excluded as the contributor of that hair on Costilla. In March of 2024, that same male hair or an extract therefrom was brought to the same outside lab for nuclear DNA testing, and once again the results came back, and which found it was 4.347 times 10 to the 332 power more likely to have come from a person genetically identical to Rex Heuermann than from an unrelated individual. So that's 4.347, and then you move that decimal point over 332 times to get the odds. Again, an astronomically large number. Regarding the female hair, prior to with regard to the female hair, one of the female hairs that was recovered on Ms. Costilla, prior to Ms. Costilla's disappearance, the defendant had been living with a female individual at his home in Massapequa Park. The female individual lived with the defendant at his current residence through the summer and into the early fall of 1993, and vacated the premises approximately 2 months or so prior to Ms. Costilla's death in 1993. Once we got those two female hairs, once we knew of those two female hairs' existence, we went out and obtained a DNA profile, a buccal swab, from this female. And that DNA profile that we obtained from the female buccal swab, we sent it to the mitochondrial testing lab. And again, it was able to exclude 99.98% of the North American population as the contributor of said hair, but it could not exclude the female who was living with Rex Heuermann. Again, we brought that same DNA and extract to the nuclear DNA testing, and the female's hair was tested and compared with the female hair that was recovered on the victim, Costilla, and it was found to be 4.578 times 10 to the 1,040th power more likely to have come from a person genetically identical to the female witness who was living with Rex Heuermann in 1993, shortly before Ms. Costilla's death, than from an unrelated individual. Again, that's 4.578, and you move that decimal point over 1,040 places, and that's the number. There was an additional female hair that was recovered in 2014. That was recovered, that was compared to both the female living with Mr. Heuermann and the defendant, and we could not get a match on that, and that remains unidentified, that female hair. So we have those DNA results, and again, we were able to establish, similar to all the other cases, that at or around the time of Ms. Costilla's disappearance and murder, Rex Heuermann was living alone at the house in Massapequa Park and had unfettered access to the house, and no one else was living with him at the time. So now I want to discuss some of the newly discovered digital evidence in the case. Before I discuss that, I just wanted to clarify some of the things that we've been talking about in our earlier press conferences. You were asked I was asked specifically about smart devices and digital devices that were recovered from the home and business of the defendant in connection with this case. So I just want to catalog that for you so you get a sort of flavor of what it was. We've recovered 15 different types of cameras. We've recovered 27 computers. We've recovered 58 internal hard drives. We recovered 22 external hard drives or solid drives. We recovered 46 cell phones. We recovered 9 Wi-Fi routers, 44 SD micro cards, which are like jump routers, 17 tablets, 42 USB devices, 8 laptop cards, 4 GPS devices, 11 music devices, 36 SIM cards, 33 miscellaneous items, and 647 CD floppy disks or VSH or miscellaneous tapes. Again, in the months subsequent to the arrest, we've been endeavoring through our own office and with the help of the Secret Service to analyze that massive amount of data. And analysis of those devices has revealed, certainly, that Heuermann had a significant collection of violent, bondage, and torture pornography, which was dating back to 1994, and that material was very similar to the condition that the two latest victims were left in. In addition to that, it is alleged that the pornographic images that were accessed by Heuermann are consistent with the crime scenes of both Sandra Costilla and Jessica Taylor. Now, as part of our processing of the electronic devices, the task force discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 through 2004. That was discovered on a laptop in unallocated space, meaning there was an attempt to erase that document. But as most forensic experts know, that even when a document is erased on a device, it is the user could no longer access that document, but forensic experts using particular software can retrieve it, and this document was retrieved in this case. It was a locally created draft, which means the document itself was created on the laptop. It wasn't downloaded from the internet. The document was modified. It was originally created in 2000, and it was overwritten a number of times and modified between 2001 and 2002. Now, as alleged in the bail application, the task force believes that this is a planning document, and it was utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills with excruciating detail. We allege that this document evinces the defendant's intent in committing the charged crimes, that his intent was specifically to locate these victims, to hunt them down, and to bring them under his control and to kill them. His motivations, meticulous planning, and clear intent is obvious. His intent was nothing short but to murder these victims. And we allege that the methodology, that the exact method by which these murders were committed, in excruciating detail in that document, is in some cases identical to the methodology used to murder the 6 victims in this case. Now, I don't want to speak further on the document. I believe the document speaks for itself. So if anybody has any questions about the document, I'd be more than willing to answer them. But before turning it over for questioning, I want to reiterate, right from the very beginning of this case, from the onset of the case, the first indictment, we said that the case was not over. We said we were going to continue to investigate the case of the Gilgo 4 and find more evidence. We've done that. We've said that we were going to expand the investigation both on Gilgo and off, and to investigate new cases. We've done that, and that's resulted in the 2 new charges that you see here today. So that's what we've done. That's what we've continued to do, and my office, along with our partners, are not going to stop. This case continues. So with that, I will turn it over for questions.
Mr.
I had a
Tierney,
question
you talked
about-
We'll just go, if we could go right to left.
About the planning.
I didn't see you down there.
It's okay. Because of this web document that he had, planning these murders out, why is it second degree and not first degree? Isn't that premeditated?
So first degree, I mean, there are a number of different charging theories you could use for murder in the first degree. One of them is if you charge a murder within a specific period of time. I think it's 18 months. So if you look at, so we have 3 murder 1 charges and 6 murder 2 charges. And if you look at the time of the deaths, Sandra Costilla, 93, Jessica Taylor, 2003, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 2007, Melissa Bartholomew, 2009, Megan Wardeman, 2010, and Amber Costello, 2010. Those last 3, Bartholomew, Costello, and Wardeman, fit within that one. The other ones, unfortunately, fall outside, so we're unable to bring that charge with regard to those, the other five, no, wait, the other three victims. So that's why it's different, just sort of the way New York State law is set up.
Well, I wanted to ask about how this expands the search now, because now with this indictment, the earliest murder now changes to 1993, which gives it many more years than we had before. So, how does this expand the search? How are you guys expanding this to find out who other victims that are possibly involved in?
Well, I think first and foremost, while it expands the information for the public and the media, it doesn't change anything for us. We were, I think in March of this year, we learned of this document. We have been investigating other things. So again, my confidence in saying that we were going to move off of the Gilgo 4 to the new body and off of Gilgo itself was based upon my knowledge of the investigation. So that's something that we've been doing for a while now. It's just sort of become publicly known.
How did you know Sandra?
We have no information with regard to that.
Off of that, so the alleged murders happening between 93 and 2010, just how alarming is this sweeping timeline you're looking at?
Well, I think this whole case in general is alarming, and I think it underscores that which we already knew, that we have an individual who we are alleging, and again, these are allegations, meticulously planned and executed 6 separate murders. So that in and of itself speaks for itself.
And there are other victims named in the court documents. Are more charges on the way?
So we're going to continue. Again, we're going to continue to investigate, and we'll talk about whatever other investigation we're undergoing when and if we bring those charges.
And Mr. Tierney, in your document, you mentioned the words torture, bondage, violence, and also Stockholm Syndrome. Is there any evidence to reveal that perhaps Rex Heuermann took these women or any of them captive in his home, attempted to brainwash them, put him under his control?
Well, that's what that document contains, and again, that speaks for itself. We'll make arguments with regard to that, and at the trial. The specific reference to Stockholm Syndrome, that pertains to a book, Mindhunter, by a former FBI profiler, John Douglas. His name escaped me for a moment. And so we know there are specific page references to that book and stuff such as sexual substitution, torture, and also Stockholm Syndrome. And our argument, it's our allegation that the defendant was referencing that Mindhunter book not to gain insight into his own behavior or to modify or change it, but rather to use it as a means of improving his methodology and avoid capture by the authorities.
Was that book found?
Sir, what about Valerie Mack? I know she, I believe, was found out in Vanderbilt in a similar way that she was murdered.
So you have, and if you go back to that document, they talk about DS or dump sites in Mill Road, Halsey Manor Road, and Mill Road. It intersects with each other. So, and if you look at the method of the crime scene, very similar to Jessica Taylor. That's what we could say now. We'll continue to work the case, and if we're able to develop more information and get to the point where we can charge it, we'll talk about it. You had a real question?
Yes, I was wondering, you mentioned that book. Did Heuermann have that book in his...
So he references specific page numbers in the or specific page numbers are represented in the document, which match up to a particular edition of the Mindhunter book. The Mindhunter book was not found in Heuermann's house, but there was another serial killer book written by John Douglas found in his house, and I think that's in the bail document.
I just think, obviously, you probably knew this already, but uncovering a lot of new details that we didn't know, as far as dismemberment, that he was younger when he allegedly killed, that, of course, this document is explosive. Just talk to me, looking at the bigger picture profile of a serial killer, is this, what was investigators, your thoughts when you were uncovering these new sort of details that...
We had no thoughts. We look at the evidence and we follow the evidence. We know that criminals in general, people in general, their modus operandi change through the course of their life. You know, obviously there was no dismemberment with regard to the original Gilgo 4, but there is with regard to, unfortunately, Ms. Taylor. So, you know, it's just, and again, everyone says, you know, are you expanding the investigation? And, you know, we're doing it under the auspices of the Gilgo Task Force, but each new case that we look at, each new crime scene we look at it independent of everything, and then we make a determination. You know, where does that evidence leads us? Does it lead us to one particular suspect or another particular suspect? But we don't, you know, get a list and say, okay, you know, we're gonna automatically assume that certain people committed certain crimes. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way we do it. We look at and again, you know, in the bail document, you talk about if you want to know, and this is from John Douglas's book that the document quotes. If you want to know who the painter is, look at the painting, and that is something that Douglas used to tell his investigators, and that pertains specifically to if you want to know who committed the crime, look at the crime scene and the condition of the victim. And again, if you do that in this case, we would allege that the crime scene and the victims match very much with a lot of, first off, the document that we found, and also a lot of the defendant's internet activities and the bondage and torture type of pornography that he was interested in obsessively searching.
Do you believe at this point that the murders were committed in his house? And could you also talk about I guess the note he put in in that document that was referenced in court?
I'm familiar with the note. I'm sorry.
There was I thought the ADA talked about something about, he said, if you do certain things equals more playtime.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So you know, that is referenced. What is the specific quote was? Okay, more rest, more playtime. And so basically, what he's talking about is, well, what the allegation and what we would allege is the more rested, you know, the participants are, the more you can get done. And he also talks about, or the document also talks about crime scene, and if you're sleepy and spending too much time in a crime scene, or your lack of sleep, your chances of making mistakes increase. So again, there's a lot of evincing of intent in that document.
And what about where these murders took place? Any?
So there's, you know, under you know, some of the considerations was in the document, it writes about tape not good, use push pins, and then once we received that document, we went back into the house and looking at the paneling in the downstairs basement area, we were able to look at it through infrared light. We would establish a cordon off area where adhesive had been placed. So we're going to make certain arguments with regard to that at the time of trial. We also found an area where there were push pins into the drop ceiling.
Does he make any specific references to victims in the manifesto?
There's
a
a T1, you know, a T1 and T2. We would argue that stands for Target 1 and Target 2. Target 1, it says Megan with a question mark, and Target 2, it says black, and then in parentheses unknown, I believe. You could look at the bail document. That pertains to specific victims. If you look at the timing of it, it wouldn't seem to pertain to Megan Waterman because it's too early in time. There is also a reference to phone numbers of potential victims. We've searched, and we block out our phone numbers. We kept that in the document because we've come to an impasse with regard to those phone numbers. So if any members of the public have information with regard to those phone numbers, we would certainly be receptive to receive that.
So Valerie Mack, her death was mentioned twice in this latest bail document. Is Rex officially a suspect in Valerie Mack's death?
I think that would be fair to say, yeah.
That's fair to say.
And isn't Mill Road where her remains were found?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Taylor was close to the.
Valerie Mack was. If you go down, you have Halsey Manor Road, and then Mill Road is like further, like as you said, away from the expressway, I believe, or the exit to the expressway. but in that same area, and Valerie Mac was a little bit further into the woods.
Ray, have you found any evidence at all about what he might have been up to in the last decade or so? Or did he just stop in 2010? How many other missing persons cases or unsolved crimes do you now have to look at, given where you are?
So the quick answer to that, yes, we have. We're still developing that, and, obviously, none of that is actionable. And, with regard to the missing, cases, we're looking at all of them, and, but we're looking at them, not necessarily in the context of any particular defendant, including this one. We're looking at them, separate and apart as missing cases, and with the universe of information that we have, not only in this case, but other cases, how can we work towards solving some of these cold cases?
That's 30 years of crime.
Yes.
Did the new search of North Sea uncover any evidence that has helped the case?
So I would say that, it was, as I've said all along, it's a necessary investigative step. It's a huge area, and we felt that we needed to do that at some point in time. We wanted to do it before the summer, and the brush got real thick. So, we didn't know logistically how we were gonna do it. We knew it was gonna be difficult, but you don't not do something because it's difficult. And again, fortunately, our partners in the New York State Police, the Suffolk County Police as always, and the NYPD, their canine units went out and they did a fantastic job. We have so much gratitude to them for helping us out, but no new bodies were found.
Jimmy, just following up on Greg's question, do you believe both the search going on in the basement with what you found in the manifesto, that the basement was a location where the crimes could have been committed?
So, again, it doesn't matter what I believe, it matters what we can prove. This is, a significant investigative step. This was a significant investigative finding, and we'll continue to develop those things. We'll get to you next. I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Whoever said what they said, could you say? Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering, in the basement, I
Yeah.
know it was the new search, were there any specific findings that could relate to actual blood, hair, human remains of any kind in the
Well, as we've said all along, if you look at the DNA evidence and the trace evidence that we've done, it doesn't happen overnight. So there's additional testing that we're undergoing. We just have to see the results of that. Well, you always see suspicious things, but in any case. But is it a stain of something benign, or is it an investigatively significant stain? Only our forensic scientists can tell that after a lot of work.
Thank you so much. Could you share any of the trophies that you found from the investigation?
Well, we've in our bail letter, and we're pretty much constrained by our bail letter to what we could publicly disclose. We found other information, which will be disclosed at the time of trial. So we're not gonna get into it, and that's not to say they exist. We're just not gonna get into it. We can't. Ethically, I'm really enjoying from talking about it.
Can you tell us when the document on the laptop was first discovered, and is that what prompted the research of the house recently?
Again, in any effective investigation, it's never just one thing. Certainly that was something that was significant and led us in among other things in that direction. That document, I believe, we recovered it in March here, so fairly recently, and certainly given the sprawling history of this case.
And you
Go ahead.
said he had a lot of images and videos of torture porn on his devices. Were any of them his own victims?
We saw no evidence of that.
Could you speak about his profile? Like, was one set of murders different from another set, and does that indicate that he was sort of changing his tactics over the years, or is this all consistent when you look at all the evidence so far?
Well, I think if you look at a macro view or a micro view, these are young women tragically lost their lives and were murdered as a result of a person who meticulously planned their murders. If you look at the earlier as opposed to the later murder, it does appear that there was some changes. you know, exactly what happened with regard to the Gilgo 4, we're foreclosed about knowing a lot of that stuff because they were skeletonized. Jessica and Sandra were more, more recently found, so we were able to glean more information from the crime scene. So, I guess it just depends what your perspective is on with regard to all that.
Was the March 7th discovery of the Word document the evidence that caused the second search of the house?
Well, as I think I previously, it was a impetus, but, you know, in any good investigation, you know, there's usually a number of different things that cause that.
Was it the main one?
I would say it was a significant one, and it was also an impetus to go back out into those areas and search with the dogs.
In Manorville?
And Manorville and North Sea and every place else we went.
With these new allegations that happened probably in '93, it could open the possibility of other murders like Karen Vergata or other people who have been killed?
So as we said, Karen Vergata, her remains were found partially in Jones Beach and partially in, I think, by Atlantic Beach, across from Blue Point on Fire Island. So, you know, all those cases, every person who was tragically murdered in Suffolk County, they're in play.
Ray, can you say a quick word about how you plan to bring this to trial? Are you gonna, is there like a cutoff point where you're just gonna try the 6, or you're just gonna keep going and eventually put them on trial?
So we're not going to stop. We can't stop. We owe that to the victims. That's the least we can do. So we understand we have a court case. We understand we'll go forward with that, but we're not going to stop. So however that works, however we need to do that, we're going to do it. We have a great team. We have a great team of investigators. We have a great team of prosecutors, and you do what you have to do in this business. We will get it done. It's daunting. There's a lot, but we'll get it done.
Are you still going through those dozens of digital devices?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's just reading off just gives, and a lot of them are encrypted, so that, you know, when you have an encrypted device, that attempt to get in is ongoing. You know, you're trying to crack the code, so to speak, so that's an ongoing effort.
Has there been any attempt?
You know, I'm not going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss that again because my speculation, my thoughts, don't matter. What I can prove in court, speak through an indictment. I will talk about these 6 because, you know, these are allegations at this point. We look forward to proving those allegations, but they are mere allegations at this point.
Has there been any attempts recently to talk to Rex or his lawyers and say, hey, look, can you just tell us who you killed? Just ask him to come forward?
So I am, he's represented by competent counsel. I cannot ethically reach out to the defendant, so I wouldn't, and even if I was inclined, I cannot. So we'll speak through his attorney, and, you know, there's in any case, you know, there's always a dialogue between the defense and the prosecution, or at least there should be, and, you know, a myriad of topics are discussed on a daily basis, which should remain private between the parties.
Has any of the evidence that you found so far, you might have another suspect in question, whether someone who lived there or a family member or something, could be someone on your radar?
So if you look at the evidence in this case, and you know, it points that the defendant acted alone, and then if you look at that planning document, that makes it even more apparent that this is the 6 charged cases were meticulously planned, and they were done at a time when the defendant knew he would have both access to the victims and other people would not be around.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe the victims are going to speak, so we're going to give some of the victims, whoever likes to speak, the opportunity to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm attorney Gloria Allred. I represent the family of one of the latest victims for whom there has been an indictment of the defendant, and that is Jessica Taylor. I am the only attorney representing the family of Jessica Taylor and the only one authorized to speak about Jessica Taylor. In addition, I represent the families of 3 other victims, Megan and Melissa and Maureen. Some of the family members of those other victims are also present today, so I'd ask you just to raise your hand if you are a family member of Megan, a family or friend of Melissa, and a family member or friend of Maureen. With me for Jessica Taylor is Jessica's mom, Elizabeth Backheel, and she, under the circumstances, has asked me to read her statement. Following this statement, Jasmine Robinson, who is the cousin of Jessica, will read her statement. I also have and will show you 2 photos of Jessica. This is a statement of Jessica's mom, Elizabeth Backheel. Jessica was my daughter. She was loving and compassionate and so funny. She loved to make people laugh. She could always make people laugh. She tried very hard in school. Jessica had 2 brothers, and they would always play together. She and her brothers were very close. Jessica loved riding her bike. She loved playing board games, Monopoly, Chutes and Ladders, Candyland. She loved playing cards, especially spades and rummy. She loved cartoons. She loved to sing. She would sing along with the radio and was in the choir at church. She loved to cuddle with me and her brothers when she was younger. They would pile on the couch and watch TV together. I miss how she called me Mommy and Mama. It's a tragedy she never had children. Jessica would have made a great mother. She loved kids and loved working with them. She worked in the inner city with the kids in summer camp as an aide. She loved supporting kids and helping to take care of them. My family and I would like to thank the law enforcement and the district attorney's office for all of their hard and diligent work on my daughter Jessica's case. Jessica, my darling daughter, you will never be forgotten. You will always be missed. You will forever be in our hearts. And this is a photo of Jessica when she was how old? 5 or 6 years old.
Gloria?
And 16. This is a photo of Jessica when she was approximately 16 years old. And this is her mom's favorite photo. I will have a copy of Elizabeth's statement available after the press conference for you. And in addition, I'll have the photos up here. And now I would like to introduce Jasmine Robinson, Jessica's cousin. And also, if you would be kind enough to raise your hand, also present is another cousin of Jessica who will not make a statement, and that is Violet Swagger. Violet, would you be kind enough just to raise your hand, please? Thank you. Best. Couldn't hear you.
Can you just spell her mother's name for us?
Oh, her mother's name is on here, but I'm happy to spell it. Elizabeth Bacchiel, capital B-A-C-Z-K-I-E-L. Thank you for asking. Jasmine.
Jessica was a beautiful person. Simple memories, such as sitting down to dinner together, drawing pictures, dancing, jump rope, and sleepovers with her and my sister, are memories that I cherish. I was lucky to share my childhood with her, and I wish every day that we got the chance to create more memories. When I think of her, I see her smile first, big and bright, lighting up her face, beaming through her beautiful eyes. Jess was somebody that I looked up to. She was a force, one of the strongest women that I know, with a heart of gold. She was, and still is, loved immeasurably. When her life was stolen, a light went out. She is forever missed. This year has been 21 years since she was taken from us, longer than the chance that she got to be alive. I can't express what this day means after waiting and hoping for answers. I'm incredibly grateful to the entire task force for the dedication and integrity that they have provided and put into this investigation. I have full faith that they will continue to provide answers for other victims and their families.
They will not be taking questions, but if you have a few for me, feel free to ask.
Can you spell Jasmine's name, please?
Pardon me, I couldn't hear.
Can you just, Jasmine, spell her name, please?
Yes, Jasmine Robinson, J-A-S-M-I-N-E, Robinson, R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N.
Ms. Allra, just their reaction, if you can, to finding out about, this new indictment.
Obviously, it's very difficult for them emotionally. They've been waiting 21 years for answers. And they're hoping that justice is on its way.
What was it like to sit in the same courtroom as Heuermann?
They were present, that is, Jasmine, Elizabeth, and Violet were present in court with me this morning. It was difficult for them to see the person who was accused of murdering, second-degree murder of their loved one, but they reached down inside of themselves and found the courage to be there because they are the voice of Jessica. They have the memories that they carry of Jessica, and they want to be there for Jessica, and that's why they were there.
Gloria, would any of your other clients from the Brainerd Barnes family want to share their thoughts at this time?
Does anyone have any further thoughts? No. No one is
from
going to
your other
make an
clients,
additional statement this morning or after the press conference, but thank you
I'm
for
sorry,
asking. I'm sorry, I
read-
couldn't hear you.
Okay, your other clients from who we met the last time, the Brainerd Barnes family, were asking about that.
Yeah, they have no additional statement at this time,
Could you spell the-
because they want the focus to be on Jessica today, which is understandable. But they are here in support of Jessica, as well as their family member for whom there has also been an indictment.
Could you spell Violet Swagger's name for us, please?
Could you please repeat your question a little more loudly?
Could you spell Violet Swagger's name, please? Violet Swagger, could you spell?
Yeah, Violet Swagger. Violet. Swagger. Swager. That's correct. Anything further?
Thank you.
Okay, then, in that case, as I say, I will have a copy of Jasmine's statement, a copy of Elizabeth's statement. My contact information is at the top of the statement.
Are you serious?
What?
No, I got a new one.
I'm going to leave these right here, but I don't want to leave the photos, so. Pardon me? Yeah, okay. That's Jasmine, this is Elizabeth.
Everybody want to be involved? Just unfortunately.
Thank you. I don't know what the plan is for me to go live in Nassau at 2 o'clock.
Brown is talking now. Brown's already talking. Like, right now. Like, we're missing. Okay.
I have a crew there.
Oh, I didn't know if you were on your own, Mike. Why are you not reacting?
You have a laptop or something? I'm like,
Yeah. Radio. Glad everyone's missing it.
it's amazing.
Krista. Hi.